In the previous Sarga, we witnessed a moment both tender and profound. Sri Rama, seated in quiet wonder, listened to his own life being sung before him by the young Lava and Kush. And oh yes, they did sing in Sanskrit. Valmiki Maharshi himself makes this explicit in the 36th shloka. He used the word Margavidana Sampada. In Treta Yugam, music was rendered in two distinct traditions, Marga and Deshi. When sung in the language of a region, it was called Deshi. But when rendered in the language that resonated across the entire land, Sanskrit, it was known as Marga. So Marga Vidhana Sampada. And so one is compelled to pause and imagine an entire Bharat Rashtra speaking, understanding, and experiencing Sanskrit as a living tongue. What must that age have been like? I linger there in that sacred moment as Lava and Kush render this enchanting tale in the very presence of Rama. For who else could have accomplished such a feat, trained by none other than Valmiki Maharshi himself? And in his words echo with quiet authority. As he describes the twins in the 10th shloka, he said, Tautu Gandharva Tattvajnau Sthana Murchana Kovidau Bhratarau Swara Sampannau Gandharvavaiva Rupinau. Gandharva Tattvajnau Gandharva Iva Rupinau. So did Valmiki Maharshi describe the twins, Lava and Kusha, as though they were endowed with the very essence and form of the Gandharvas themselves. The previous Sarga was tender, intimate, and endearing, a moment where song and story became one. But now, the narrative expands. In this 5th Sarga, the Maharshi leads us away from the quiet Sabha and into the grandeur of Ayodhya. In just 23 shlokas, he unfolds before us a city of breathtaking detail, vivid, resplendent, almost otherworldly. And remember, this is no embellishment of imagination, for Brahmadeva himself had ordained that not a single word spoken by the Maharshi would be untrue. No anrutam, no distortion, only truth revealed. And thus he begins. Sarva purvamiyam yeshamasit krutsna vasundhara prajapatim upadaya drupanam jayashalinam. Yesham sasagaro nama sagaro yena khanitaha shashtiputra sahastrani yam yantam paryavarayan. Ikshvakunam idam tesham ragyam vamshe mahatmanam mahat utpannamakhyanam Ramayanam iti shrutam. Tadidam vartayishyavaha sarvam nikhilamaditaha dharma kamartha sahitam shrotavyam anasuyata. Koshalo nama muditaha svito janapado mahan nivishtaha sarayutire prabhuta dhanadhanyavan. Ayodhya nama nagari tatrasilloka vishruta manuna manavendrena yapuri nirmita swayam. Ayata Daśaratha yojanani mahapuri Srimati Trini Vistirna Suvibhakta Mahapatha. Rajamargena Mahata Suvibhaktena Shobhita Mukta Pushpavikirnena Jalasittena Nityashaha. Tamtu Raja Daśaratho Maharashtra Vivardhanaha Purim Avasayamasa divi deva patiryatha. Kapatatoranavatim subhiktan antarapanam sarva yantra ayudavatim ushitam sarva shilpibihi. Sutamagada sambadham Shrimatim Atula Prabham Uchchatala Dvajavatim Shatagni Shatasankulam Vadhu Nataka Sanghaischa Sanyuktam Sarvataha Purim Udhyanam Bravanopetam Mahatim Salamekhalam Durga Gambhira Parikham Durgam Anyair Durasadam Vajivarana Sampurnam Gobhirushtraihi Kharaistatha Samantaraja Sanghaischa Balikarma Bhiravrutam Nana Desha Nivasaischa Vanigbhirupashobhitam Prasadai Ratna Vikrutaihi Parvatairiva Shobhitam Kutagaraischa Sampurnam Indrasyevam Amaravatim Chitramashtapadakaram Varanari Ganayutam Sarvaratna Samakirnam Vimanam Gruhashobhitam Gruhagadham Vichidram Samabhumau Diveshitam Shalitandala Sampurnam Ikshukandara Sodakam Dundubibhim Mrudangaischa Veenabhihi Panavaisthata Naditam Bhrushamathyartham Pruthivyam Tamanuttamam Vimaniva Siddhanam Tapasa Adigatam Divi Suniveshita Veshamantam Narottam Asamavrutam Yecha Barnaina Vidhyanti Viviktam Aparaparam Shabda Vedhyam Cha Vititam Laguhasta Visharadaha Simha Vyaghra Varahanam Mattanam Nadatam Vane Hantaro Nishitaiha Shastraid Balad Bahu Balairapi Tadrushanam Sahastraistam Abhipurnam Maharathaihi Purimavasayamasa Raja Daśarathastata Tamagnavabdhir Gunavaribdharavrutam Sahastradaihi Satyaratair Mahatmabhir Maharshi Kalpair Rushibhischa Kevalaihi. This entire Prithvi, the known world, had for ages uncounted rested under the sovereign rule of kings born of the illustrious Ikshvaku dynasty, a lineage that traced its origins to the Prajapati Manu, the progenitor of mankind. From within this sacred line arose the Mahan Emperor Sagara Chakravarti, he who was blessed with 60,000 sons. And it is to them that tradition ascribes a feat immense, that they carved into the very body of the earth, giving form to the boundless oceans themselves. And thus, even to this day, the ocean bears his name, Sagara. It is within this very lineage, ancient, resplendent, and unbroken, that the enchanting tale of the Ramayana came into being. There lay a vast and renowned Janapada, the kingdom of Koshala, stretching gracefully along the sacred banks of the river Sarayu. Its lands were rich and fertile, abundance flowed through its fields, and its people lived in quiet contentment and enduring prosperity. And within this illustrious realm rose a city of timeless renown called Ayodhya, ancient and deliberate, founded in the earliest age by none other than Prajapati Manu himself. Ayodhya, the enchanting city, stretched for 12 yojanas in length and 3 in breadth, vast in scale and exquisite in design. Through its very heart ran a grand royal highway, broad, unbroken, reaching outward to distant Janapadas across the land. Each day, its people tended to these roads with quiet care, sprinkling them with water to settle the dust and laying fresh flowers upon them so that even the pathways bore the mark of grace. And under the righteous reign of Maharaja Daśaratha, who ruled in perfect harmony with Dharma, the city flourished, vibrant, inviting, and alive, drawing multitudes into its embrace, as though prosperity itself had found a home within her walls. Ornate archways and magnificent gateways graced the city, opening into bustling, well-laid markets of many kinds. There, one could behold finely crafted yantras, gleaming astras and shastras, and wares of exquisite workmanship on display. And within Ayodhya lived artisans of remarkable skill, masters of countless crafts, whose hands shaped beauty into form. And Ayodhya was filled with sutas and magadas, voices of memory and glory. The sutas sang aloud the greatness of men, while the magadas recalled the splendor of their lineage, ensuring that no noble deed was ever lost to time. The city's radiance was unmatched, its skyline marked by towering attics and fluttering banners that danced against the sky. And woven into this beauty was strength, for throughout the city stood powerful engines of war, formidable cannon-like projectiles, silent and watchful, guarding Ayodhya's grandeur. Across Ayodhya stood many theatres, alive with music and movement, where graceful tropes of women dancers performed, filling the city with rhythm and delight. And beyond her vibrant streets, she blossomed into beauty, with lush parks and fragrant mango groves adorning her expanse. Encircled by forests that are rich and serene, Ayodhya stood not merely as a city, but as a living harmony where culture, nature, and joy flowed as one. Encircling Ayodhya lay a vast and impregnable moat, a silent guardian, deep and unyielding, ensuring that the city stood secure against all who dared approach. And within these fortified bounds, life flourished in vibrant abundance. The streets and courtyards teemed with motion, graceful horses in proud stride, towering elephants moving like living hills, sacred cows in gentle calm, powerful buffaloes and humble donkeys, each a quiet pillar sustaining the prosperity of the realm. Ayodhya was ever thronged with noble presents, feudatory princes arriving from all directions, their retinues rich and resplendent, bearing tribute in honor of their sovereign. And alongside them came traders from distant lands, men of many regions and tongues, their presence gracing the city, their commerce enriching its ever-growing splendor. Adorned with mansions that rose like mountains, their walls gleaming with precious stones and crowned with countless lofty attics. Ayodhya stood in radiant magnificence. So resplendent was her form that she seemed none other than Amravati itself, the celestial city of Indra, brought down upon earth. Presenting a vibrant tapestry of colour, the city was laid out with precise elegance, like a vast dice board, its avenues and quarters arranged in perfect order. It was thronged with graceful women, their presence lending charm and life to every corner, while treasures of every kind, precious stones of countless varieties, gleamed throughout the city. And rising above it all stood magnificent seven-storied buildings, lofty, ornate, and resplendent, completing the vision of a city unmatched in beauty and design. Dense with well-built dwellings, Ayodhya stood flawless in its design, laid out upon a level ground with measured precision and harmony. It abounded in grain, fields rich with rice sustaining its people, and its waters flowed pure and sweet, like the very juice of sugarcane. Resounding with life, Ayodhya echoed with the deeper thunder of kettle drums, the rhythmic pulse of clay tom-toms, and the gentle strain of lutes, their music weaving through the streets like a living breath. Filled with sound, with movement, with spirit, the city stood unmatched upon the earth. With its houses set in perfect order, Ayodhya appeared like a celestial procession, as though rows of vimanas of the Siddhas themselves had descended upon the earth. And within her dwelt not ordinary men, but jewels among men, noble in conduct, radiant in character, and worthy of the city they called home. Ayodhya was surrounded on all sides by thousands of mighty Maharathas, men of extraordinary prowess and discipline. A Maharatha was not an ordinary warrior. He was one who could stand in battle while protecting himself, his charioteer and his horses, and by any other measure, one who could face 10,000 archers single-handed. Yet, for all their might, they were bound by Dharma. They would not strike an unarmed foe, nor one bereft of kin, nor one hidden from sight, nor one who had withdrawn from the battle. For even in the heat of war, Dharma was their law. But when called upon, they were devastating in force, masters of the bow and every weapon known, wielding astras and sastras with deadly precision. And even without weapons, with sheer strength alone, they could bring down lions, tigers, and wild boars, beasts that roared through the forests in untamed fury. Such were the Maharathas of Ayodhya, guardians of the realm, terrible in might, yet unwavering in Dharma. Such was Ayodhya, a city restored and richly peopled by King Daśaratha in those days, a city not merely vast in form, but exalted in spirit. It was inhabited by the foremost of the Brahmanas, keepers of the sacred fire, steadfast in worship, and adorned with noble qualities and unwavering discipline. Masters of the Vedas and of the 6 sacred branches of knowledge, these high-souled beings lived in generosity and truth, ever giving, ever rooted in Dharma. And among them moved eminent seers, men of profound insight and inner stillness, almost equal to the Maharathis themselves.